Honestly, it's not often you see character writing like Izusumi that often, especially when you're so deep into a show to introduce a new character into your already impressive cast of characters. It's not always going to stick the landing like the characters always belong, but they've done a great job. Though, we do have to expose something, and I've been doing it slowly but surely over these videos, but I think I have definitive proof. And that is that Senshi is the actual love interest of this show. Now, hear me out. I know you're ready to say, Brandon, what are you talking about? How could I love a No, think about it. All throughout this show, they've given us little hints, little teases. Both Chilchuck and freaking Leos think that Senshi is the pinnacle of masculinity, that he is the goal of what a man should look like. And in this episode, after our boy got tied up because he wasn't allowed to look, he wanted to peek, he said, "Let me see that fur, let me see that tail," and the boy was down bad, let's put it like that. The fact that Senshi got mistaken for Marcel, and he had a bit of a side eye, and I'm like, oh, that's a little funny. And then the next scene, you see Senshi feeding him the damn pudding, and it's like, oh my goodness, man, I swear to God, this author is just having fun at this point, that he's trying to bait the relationship between Leos and freaking Senshi. It's mostly jokes, but I do have to question, man, the number of times either Leos or Senshi have fallen into literally face first. When they first got kidnapped by those orcs or whatever, they were like 69ing at one point, man. It's just funny, and I absolutely love it, but I have to expose it every time it pops up. But we only have a month left of this show, and we'll be at the halfway point of the manga, and I'm so excited to see where Season 2 is going to take and finish up this show. Now, of course, I have full live reactions over on Patreon. If you want to see my full uncut thought to any of these wonderful Delicious in Dungeon episodes, it's going to be over there exclusively. So, we ended the episode last week with a new party member, which, you know, introducing an official new party member into a group of 4 easily could make the cast feel bloated, if we're honest, because while, yes, there's room to have even maybe an 8-party member, especially if you're going adventuring, you can see how you could definitely lose, like, okay, Chilchuck's not going to get as much spotlight, or, you know, Senshi isn't going to get as much spotlight. And it's interesting because by the end of this episode, it almost felt like this is a character who was pretty much there from the beginning. Like, that's just how the dynamics are feeling. And the interesting approach of having an almost stray cat persona is really nice. Now, I love cats. I've never had a single issue with any cat I've owned, any cat I've interacted with, because it's all about how you interact with a cat, right? If you're a very extreme personality, they're gonna get skittish and scared of you. If you treat them like shit, they're going to be scared of you. And a stray cat, pretty much off the street, can sometimes take a long time to warm up. And while her old party wasn't abusive, mind you, it definitely was a little, like, much, and you could tell that it wasn't completely comfy for her, but there was select people in said party that did make her happy. And I like the idea that this is pretty much like a stray cat being brought in, and a lot of extreme personalities saying, "Let me touch the cat," and the cat has to get her claws out and say, "Back the hell off." And honestly, it was really nice seeing how, over the course of this episode, she pushed back so much about everything. And very similar to the start of the show when Marcel was like, "I'm not eating a monster," she has a very similar approach. I eat a monster. If I eat said monster, I'll turn into a monster. And while after what we know about this show, it's an illogical idea, but you can't with a straight face tell me that we as humans, if we look at what, we don't even know a majority of what's in our ocean, mind you, but we do have seen some pretty disgusting imagery that I swear to God, you can't tell me with a straight face a majority of people are going to say, "Yeah, I want to eat that kraken looking thing in the pits of our ocean." No, we would say, "Yeah, we'll eat the rainbow trout, but maybe that whatever the hell that is, I'm probably going to skip out on." That's pretty much a similar thing. A lot of these monsters, it's like your gut instinct would be, don't eat it, because what the hell am I looking at? Though it's kind of funny because by the end of the whole exchange of the wolves and stuff, I can't tell if I would eat this or not. I would if I didn't see the process of cooking 100%, and I'm 50-50 if I would otherwise. So there's this like pomegranate looking thing, and I understand it's not like blood or like, it's not as gross as it looks, but when you open that up and it looks like you're cutting open a uterus and there's just this sheep looking thing, as good as the lamb chops looked cooked, that shit was at a saw, man. I did not like what I was seeing, but it was nice though, because at the end of the day, we started off with very much picky eater, this or that, and by the end, just loving the delicious meals that were cooked. And just seeing the whole group just smile. It's kind of funny when you think about it. Chilchuck didn't have a lot to do in this episode, and while Chilchuck and her kind of had a feisty attitude at the start, he's the only one who didn't get cut. Like, he's the only one who respected boundaries, and like, I have a feeling, Izusumi and Chilchuk might actually bond a decent amount. I'm not sure if it's going to be like a brother-sister dynamic or something else, but like, they are feisty, but it feels like he's the one character to like actually give the cat space, and like, I think it's not going to be surprising that the cat chooses to gravitate towards maybe him in moments where everyone's being a little too clingy and the cat wants personal space. You know, the cat has to choose you, and by the end of the episode, I mean, cat definitely chose him. It was just a fun episode, and the action was impressive. I mean, we start the episode off with an ice golem fight, which, you know, I'm honestly surprised. We're 20 episodes in, right? To have a fight that lasted more than a couple of attacks and her bouncing around, the animation of the golem actually punching, this is stuff you see at the beginning of a show when the production's still healthy. But this just reinforces just how good of a production that Trigger gave this one, and I really hope Season 2 can keep on the momentum, because if Season 2 is a 2-core, we will finish up the manga and have a complete adaptation. And to be able to have like 50 some odd episodes of one of the coolest, most original and fresh takes that we've seen in dungeon crawling anime would just be an absolute treat. But it wasn't even just the golem stuff, the wolf stuff was cool too, so it's kind of funny when Marcel can pick up a tree branch and say, "my staff," and just, you know, cast flashbang spells, but you know what, she's effective no matter what. And like, just the fact that as they continue throughout this dungeon, they reinforce just how creative they are, both with practical sides of it, but also just how they like make dungeon crawling feel more complex than just, we're trying to get to the bottom and sometimes we eat food. And what I mean is, when they initially get to this part of the dungeon, it's cold. They don't really have winter gear. They do find their old gear, which allows them to get dressed up. Okay, that's nice. But then when they go inside the cave and then they start using the ice to basically make a sauna, those are the little practical things that I think really separate this show from a lot of dungeon crawling anime, because it's like, okay, characters would actually be cold, and rather than just showing them sneeze or like kind of shiver, you're finding ways to actually heat them up, and just those little moments go a long way to make it feel like a living and breathing episode, rather than just character moves through dungeon and fights a golem and eats. It's like, no, they're cold, they're starving, this or that. It all goes a long way to reinforce, but the most important thing that they reinforce is that Senshi is without a doubt the OTP of the show. There's usually at least one person who takes me way too seriously when I say it, and it cracks me up every time. But I mean, we have a month left of this show. I've been absolutely loving it. I got called crazy when by like episode 2 or 3 I was saying this was going to be Trigger's magnum opus. And listen, I think there's only been a couple of shows that I haven't really messed with from Studio Trigger. The fact that I'm calling it this strong, like, is not a disrespect to the other shows they've worked on. It's just how much I like this one. And I think by episode 20, I just feel like I proved myself right, is all I'm saying. But let me know what you thought down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, ring that bell so you know if I want to upload more. And like I mentioned, got those full live reactions over on Patreon. And hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. So today we got Sean Kofferkey, Ryan Kahalili, Roland Vermiglio, June Liu, Jessica L. Compton, Hino Kaga, and Ishta. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.